I'm Dazza Greenwood. Welcome to the Privacy Club. When it comes to privacy and technology, I know what I'm talking about. And I've worked with people on many sides of this issue for over 20 years, from politics to the practice of law, from consulting with industry to being a teacher and a researcher at MIT for over 10 years. All of this work on privacy from all these many sides over the years has frankly left me with more questions than with answers. We started the Privacy Club to conduct a series of interviews with thought leaders to define the issues, to increase public awareness of potential problems, and to foster a meaningful dialogue on a mass scale so that we can make the transition to this new technological age with our privacy and our identities intact. I think it's only fitting that our first guest should be not only a thought leader in the area of privacy, but also a true technological innovator, the inventor of the open source license, GPL, Richard Stallman. You may have noticed that during the interview on that day, I decided to do it sans the beard. I think Richard Stallman's got enough beard for both of us. How did you come to form the ideas that you have, today regarding the need for privacy?
Mainly from reading about tyranny, from books like 1984, and then from real events such as the systematic investigation of dissidents practiced under Nixon, for instance, and Johnson, I believe also.
Enemies list.
And these have resumed. Governments are very powerful, far too powerful, unless we keep them in check. But who really controls them nowadays? Well, as we all know, it's not the people, it's the companies. Insurance companies have a veto on reforming our healthcare system. The banks have a veto over regulation to prevent them from causing another financial crisis. And the oil companies are trying to prevent us from doing anything to avoid the destruction of civilization and half the species on Earth. So what does this mean? It means we're in great danger.
What is the privacy from surveillance that you believe is needed? What are the types of surveillance and what types of privacy can continue to be respected and protected in this new playing field?
I could mention two broad classes of surveillance. One is surveillance of your movements, and the other is recording of your transactions. Surveillance of your movements is done with cell phones if you make the mistake of carrying one, but I won't. I consider it my duty as a citizen to refuse these tempting but dangerous devices. Now, I would find it convenient, just as lots of other people do, but I feel it's my duty not to have one. And it's not because my whereabouts are very often a secret.
Frequently it's listed on websites where
Yes,
you're speaking and
exactly.
where you are, and
I don't
your
have
Flickr
a
trail
lot
is actually very well linked to, as I understand it.
I started to talk about one. There's surveillance of our movements. Cell phones are one way. The other is recording our transactions and activities. Because the easiest thing to do with computer systems today is record everything everybody did and keep the records permanently. Which is why I don't buy things with credit cards.
Do you use the loyalty cards at the Stop and Shop kind of
No,
place?
I don't. I don't have them.
Do you use transportation cards?
I do, but I get a new Charlie card every so often, and I pass the old one to somebody else. And I also keep it in something that blocks response, because it's a
Faraday cage made of tinfoil, perhaps?
Yeah.
Thought so.
The point is, the Charlie card has an RFID, which is a radio receiver and transmitter. It receives a signal and it transmits another signal, and it can be scanned anywhere.
So we start to see a convergence of the physical space and the network, the logical layer, putting together a dossier, a virtual profile on
Yes.
people from their whereabouts, their whatabouts, their whoabouts, their interactions and transactions, the contours of their life, their fullness of their identity.
Right. When companies keep records about everything we do, and then these records can be taken by the government automatically almost, that adds up to the government, Big Brother, can find out everything about all of us whenever it wants to.
Let's take a look at another aspect of this question. The internet itself has recently been wiretapped. Is that tantamount to identity theft? Is that tantamount to the
It's much worse
arrogation
than
of
that.
rights you're talking about?
It's much worse than identity theft. It's a part of the general assault on human rights that Bush carried out, but was not limited to him.
How, going forward, can we create the correct institutions, the correct information architectures, the correct processes, so that somehow people's information can be held in trust and not given up?
I don't think it should be. I think it shouldn't be held. It shouldn't be there.
So you're advocating full anonymity in all
Yes.
circumstances?
Anything that you could conceivably buy with cash, you should be able to buy with digital cash. The best way to prevent misuse of information is not to collect it.
It sounds to me like you're suggesting people should take it upon themselves to protect their rights as much as they can.
Yes.
And one of the ways would be by, well, for lack of a better phrase, a zero identity footprint.
Yes, or close to it. You
Now,
know,
how can you actually do that? What would people do?
don't buy with a credit card, don't carry a cell phone, pay with cash.
What is it they're protecting themselves from?
If you don't want to be a terrorist, you can easily not be a terrorist, but there's nothing you can do to make sure you're not going to be a suspected terrorist.
What are the prospects of free software that respects the freedoms you described, could be a tool for people's not only freedom in general, but specifically to control and have respected their privacy in a way that they found consentable?
First of all, non-free software often spies on the user. Proprietary software means the developer can put in various kinds of malware, and many of them do.
Can you define what is malware, just for people who don't know?
Malware means software features designed specifically to hurt you. There are three general categories of malware features. First of all, there's spyware, features that send information about you. Then there is digital restrictions management, which are features designed to restrict what you can do. For instance, restrict how you can use some of your files that are in your own computer. And then there are backdoors, where commands can be sent to tell the program to do things to you. So what's our defense against malware put in by software developers? Free software is our defense, because free software is controlled by the users. So with free software, we don't have a guaranteed protection. I don't know anything that could give us that. But we do have the ability to study what's going on and fix it. Whereas with proprietary software, we haven't got that. We're at the mercy of the developer.
Richard Stallman really laid it on the line, describing how our privacy and our liberties are systematically under attack. Everything from transportation to banking, healthcare, communications, voting. That's a powerful list. So what do we do about it? Well, Richard Stallman intelligently counsels that we logically could simply opt out. We could, for example, not carry a mobile phone. We could not use credit cards. And that is one way to protect privacy, because if the personal information doesn't exist, then it cannot be violated. But is having a zero identity footprint practical? Is it realistic? Is it even desirable as we move into an information society and into a digital economy? Or would it mean in reality that people are marginalized from work and civilization itself? What I learned from Richard Stallman is that I'm responsible for my privacy, and that I have to understand these threats so that I can protect my freedom.